This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by CRE Launch Pro. This online commercial real estate program is designed to take you from beginner to pro commercial real estate investor with access to all of my courses, our online community, and monthly group coaching calls. Learn how to confidently buy your first commercial property today at www.crelaunchpro.com. Welcome back to the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast. Today we are sitting down with Payne, Wright, our intern for this summer. Excited to dive into this conversation because we haven't had an interview like this on the show before, talking about commercial real estate summer internships and how you got started in it. So first off, let's go back. I mean, Payne, tell us a little bit about who you are so everybody kind of gets an idea of your background.
Yeah, so I'm entering my senior year at the University of Tennessee right now. I've been there since the spring of 2022. I originally transferred from Bryan College, where I played golf down there for a year and a half. And really and truly, I never foresaw commercial real estate as something I would get into. But I had a quick interest when I had an internship at Merrill Lynch, and just kind of quickly figured out that wasn't something that I really wanted to pursue when I graduated. And about February, March of this year, I went on the hunt, and both my uncles were in commercial real estate, and it's kind of something that's always been playing in the back of my head that I might do this, I might not do this. And that was probably one of the first things that I thought of when I wanted to switch. And I met and I got in contact with Chris Koch, is the guy that you know, and from there, we hit it off, had a great interview with you, Phil, and Brock, and Jared, and got the job and had a great summer with it. So.
Yeah, shout out to Chris. If you're watching, man, appreciate the introduction. Do not take Payne out on the golf course if you're planning on betting any money, because he will take all of it. I haven't golfed with him, to be honest with you. I'm not a big golfer, but the guys on the team are. I know Brock and Phil both are big golfers, as you pretty much kind of have to be in the world of commercial real estate, and Payne is really, really good. So Payne, talk to us. So what did you do with Merrill Lynch? I mean, because that sounds like a pretty good internship to kind of compare this to.
Yeah. So I started there, had an internship there through the summer of 2022, and worked there through May of 2023. And through my time there, I was on two different teams, because that's how they divide them up within that industry. And so the teams consist of probably about 4, 5, 6 members, depending on what clientele they can reach. Our team managed about $500 million, and then I worked on another team that managed over $1 billion. And so with that type of money, you need people that are well-rounded, well-competent. Obviously, that's a given in that industry. And with both those teams, my roles were kind of the same. It was a lot of being on the phone, just like it is in commercial real estate, a lot of talking to clients, just like it is in commercial real estate. And a lot of these things kind of overlapped. Now, on that side, I focused more on the financial just planning, financial portfolio analysis, to get specific, whereas in this type of setting, you're more in tune with putting people in touch with one another. And that's kind of quickly what I went to realize is, in a brokerage setting, your job is to get people in contact with another. And where we come into play is helping you reach that goal. And that looks like whatever it might be that you're wanting to do with a piece of property, an idea, a business you're wanting to open. And from there, I had a lot of experience at Merrill Lynch that gave me a lot of great things that I already had in place here. They can hit the bat and hit the ground rolling with it.
Yeah, I think that's absolutely right, man. I mean, it's a lot of commercial real estate is just connecting the right people and making sure that deals come together. Talk to me about your first couple of weeks jumping in with my team here at the Cauble Group. What was your first impression? You're welcome to share. We didn't pre-plan any of these questions because I wanted to get an honest review.
Well, very first day, I meet Seth, and Seth is quite honestly one of the most interesting people I think I've ever met. Very hilarious guy, but I walk in and I'm head to toe in a tux. I say tux, suit and tie.
Yeah.
And I walk in, see Seth in jeans, polo shirt. I'm like, okay, this is going to be a fun summer. And I met Brock that day about 10 minutes later, and Brock comes rolling in, jeans, t-shirt, shoes. I'm like, this is going to be a hell of a fun summer. And
it could be a little bit different than Merrill Lynch.
A little bit different than Merrill Lynch. And I had a full day with Brock, my very first day, of him just kind of giving me an overview of what commercial real estate really is and what that encompasses, and just the general idea of what I should be looking for and looking towards these next 2 months. And within that, we hit about 9,000 different routes. And I walked out that day around 4, just like brainwashed.
Oh, I'm sure.
Like, golly, this is a lot. This is a lot. This is a lot. But he painted a picture for me enough to where I was with him the majority of the summer, and each thing that he pointed out to me that specific day, if we didn't hit 90% of it, we hit 10% of it. It wasn't like unpromised truths or unpromised things that he was telling me I was going to do that never got to be done. And that's quickly when I realized that about 2 or 3 weeks in, I was like, these guys are legit. These guys know what they're doing. These guys stay true to their word, and these guys have fun while they're doing it. And that's the main thing. And I think the last thing the person wants to get into when they get into a business sense is letting it be so stressful and realizing that, oh, this is something that I thought I liked, but really and truly I don't. And the atmosphere and the work environment that I was encompassed in this summer made it so fun to come in, whether I was here for 2 hours, whether I was here for 6 to 7 hours. I mean, there wasn't a day that I walked in where I didn't laugh, didn't cut up, got work done. Promise you I got work done. Yeah. But there's just that atmosphere of the hangout time where we got to have 30 minutes to 45 minutes of just guys being guys, dudes being dudes. And that's what I love so much about this work culture. And we worked hard and we played hard. And I think that was just the whole thing of the summer with it.
Yeah, I mean, that's the biggest thing for us, right? I mean, you're going to make money in commercial real estate whether you're wearing a suit and tie or whether you're wearing a t-shirt and jeans. And that when I first got started with my own company back in 2018, so I'm already 5 years into the business at this point. I was still wearing button downs, and sometimes I was wearing a suit jacket and slacks. And I eventually realized, like, my clients don't dress like this. And I remember one day a client pointed it out because, I'd been doing a whole bunch of stuff in East Nashville at this time. And a client pointed it out and was kind of making fun of me. She was like, yeah, look at you all dressed up. And I was like, man, that's a pretty good point. I've never really thought about that, I'm dressed up like a commercial real estate broker, not like my clients.
Right.
And so that was kind of when everything started to change for me. And then when the pandemic hit, I was like, I'm never wearing a button down again. Just haven't done it. But yeah, it's fun, man. We've been very intentional about building our environment because, I've got to spend the majority of my life in that office. And if I'm going to do it, I'm going to have a good time doing it and surround myself with good people and really enjoy it. Let's see. Junie is asking a question. How difficult is it to get into commercial real estate without a college degree? I've been finding it difficult to get my foot in the door with just work experience and a real estate license. Junie, I would say it's really not that difficult. I mean, maybe I got lucky. I dropped out of college after my freshman year at the University of Tennessee, and really haven't looked back since. But maybe that's a bit of a different experience from some other people. I think that it all comes down to how much value are you providing to the company, right? I mean, that's why these commercial real estate internships are so important because, next year, hopefully Payne comes back to work with us. But if he doesn't, he'll have it on his resume for any other commercial real estate firm that he wants to go work with, that he spent a summer with a group that, was working on development, brokerage, property management. He got to see a little bit of it all. And, they're not going to have to start from ground zero, talking him through that. So Payne, talk to us a little bit about what you worked on this summer. What'd you get to kind of experience?
I think one of the coolest projects that I got to be a part of was obviously Peerless. And I think
It's a wild one.
Yeah, but dude, you can unwrap that thing with so many different routes. But going down there, back in July with Mike, um, it was an experience. I say it was an experience unlike any other, but like you go to it and in your head you got this thing in your idea of wrapped around, oh well, I've seen pictures and I've seen kind of what the guys have been talking about with it, but when you get down there, it's like a big giant treehouse.
Yeah,
And
that's a pretty good way to put it.
and you
Makes you want to take a couple of beers and some paintball guns and
could
spend a
be,
weekend with some
yeah,
friends.
it's like a Call of Duty map almost.
Yeah.
And so anyway, when you go down there and you see it for the first time, it's extremely overwhelming. But then you start getting to the meetings like we had every Wednesday with the brokers, and you start hearing ideas of, well, we can put this here, we can put this here, and they're they're great things to think of. And obviously the hardest part is self-starting it to get it going and getting in contact with these people. And so I think that project alone, obviously it's got to be years and years of work to get it to where the ultimate goal is of it. But that alone was something that I had so much fun with building Excel sheets for, calling people, getting just things organized for it, and hopefully getting a bowling ball going for it in somewhat direction. And I think that, and there was another group I worked with. Gosh, I can't even think of the name. What they were doing, it was clients with Brock, and we had spent a whole day with them. They had flown in from Charleston, South Carolina. At least one guy did. Another guy lived down here with his friends, and we just kind of drove around Nashville the whole day. And I was like, this is fun, dude. Like, it's freedom like that in the commercial real estate world that like it all points to the fact you don't have to sit in a desk 24/7.
Yep.
And I'm the first to tell you I've witnessed that, I've experienced that, and I'm not wired that way whatsoever. And I want to be out and about. I want to be doing things. I want to be going places and not be consumed to a computer and a desk for 7 hours a day. And that's one thing that I solely loved about the summer is that I could make my own schedule. I say do what I want within the work experience, whether that's work at the office, work from home, work at a coffee shop somewhere, things like that that I just loved. And but going back to that group, we had drove around Nashville, went up to Hendersonville, Goodlettsville, Madison, drove through Franklin, then it hit Brentwood, but just kind of outlaid for them what they were trying to look for and expect in the Nashville market. And my favorite part of that day is we hit Broadway up that night with them. And we had a blast down there. They were two great guys. And one of them was an Air Force pilot, now is flying commercially for United. Other one's looking to go on a singer-songwriter track, just making it in Nashville like a bunch of other people. So those were awesome dudes to hang out with, had great ideas for what they were looking for. But yeah, those two things I recall the most, just having the most fun with this summer, and getting to do research for both of them because they were two completely separate ideas, but they both encompass working with people, relationship building, and just getting to meet people's needs and serve them wherever that's at. And those are three things that I love to do no matter what the circumstance looks like. And to get to do it for work each and every day just made it even more special.
Yeah, and you get to kind of flex that creativity muscle that a lot of other jobs don't allow you to, really take advantage of. And that's what I love about commercial real estate too, is that you get to kind of make your own schedule, right? I mean, I've got some days where don't even go to the office at all. And then I've got other days where I'm in the office all day, and most days are a blend of, probably 60-40, I'm out of the office. And it's nice to get to go out and, I mean, a lot of people think it's fun touring homes. Wait until you get to tour like abandoned commercial buildings. It's so much fun. I mean, you see some of the craziest stuff sometimes. I'll never forget the first time I walked around Peerless Mill and just thinking to myself, like, I don't even think that we've seen 20% of this property. Right. I mean, and now, of course, owning it, I still haven't walked the whole thing, but I've walked almost the whole thing. And it's like a 3 to 4 hour journey. And so it's really cool to just sit and think of, what that could become and, where we'll be in 5 years, you know? What what got you interested originally in commercial real estate?
It's a tough question. I think.
Like, why not residential? Because I get that
Mhm.
question. I get asked that a lot. It's like, how did you like? Why did you decide to go right into commercial and skip residential? Because I never did any residential real estate. I've built some townhomes and stuff like that, but I never did any residential sales or anything.
I think for me, it was the dynamic of the experience that you're going to get with commercial that you don't get with residential. I mean, residential get to see a lot of nice homes, a lot of nice places to work in, but just like you hit the nail on the head just a minute ago, or commercial, you get to see practically anything and everything that obviously isn't residential, and that can go from office space to retail space to I mean, anything you could possibly think of that is building and cemented to the floor, that's that's what you're dealing with, and that opens the ground to so many different avenues you can go down, and find your niche in it to what you work with best and what you don't work with best. Whereas residential, you're kind of glued to one thing and one thing only, and that's obviously homes. And now, people that are out there for residential, I mean, you could hit me on the head with a bat by saying that, but that's kind of what I foresee as residential. And not that you can't make a living in it, because you obviously can. There's plenty of successful people out there that do it. I have a really good friend of mine whose dad is phenomenal at it, and I great businessman, great man, and just in general. But he he's been it for a while. He started out in the trailer park home business, and then kind of grew that from and it kind of grew that into a home type business. That and so watching kind of him do his thing versus me kind of doing my own research on my own and seeing that, wow, in a commercial you really can, like just said, go about 1,000 different ways to figure out what you like in it and what you don't like in it. And that was kind of one thing Brock told me at the beginning of the internship. He was like, find your niche, just find your niche and what you like to do. And obviously, like, you got Phil, who's big in industrial. You've got Brock, who's big in office or retail. And um, it's kind of avenues like that they've been in it for enough to realize, hey, I'm really good at this one thing. Why don't I just keep pursuing it? And that's one thing that I'm trying to learn right now at an early age, to figure out, hey, like, I like dealing with deals like this. I don't really like dealing with deals like
Yep.
this. And I think it's a good thing to learn at an early age in this career, because first and foremost, you're going to get more deals done doing what you like. And second off, you're not going to be wasting your time fighting for something that's not going to get pushed through to the end.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, there's so many shiny objects in commercial real estate. You can do office, retail, industrial, multifamily, hospitality, assisted living, car washes. I mean, you name it. There's any number of routes that you can take. And then on that front too, you can do leasing, you can do sales, you can
Correct.
do tenant rep, you
Yep.
can do landlord rep. I mean, you can really niche down as much as you want to, or you can keep it as broad as you want to. But that's typically what I tell people when they're first getting into the business is try a little bit of everything. You might think that retail is really cool until you get into it and you don't like dealing with the all of the data that goes into every single company's site selection process. And maybe it's more industrial for you. Maybe you enjoy, walking those buildings. I mean, there's so many different things that you can do in this business. Payne, what do you think you'll do next? I mean, now that you've got the internship under your belt, and like what were your biggest takeaways from the summer?
Um, Obviously, entering my senior year, that's first and foremost is to graduate, get my bachelor's degree in that. But honestly, I had such a blast this summer that this is something that's going to be hot on my radar when I start looking for jobs in the fall or in the spring, whenever that door gets open. And um, I think not to consume myself my senior year by trying to just home in on, like, I need to do this, I need to do this, I need to do this, and just kind
Right.
of let
Let it flow.
let it flow and let it play out how it needs to. But most definitely, this was an experience that taught me a lot. I think the biggest thing I can take away from this is, and we were kind of talking about it yesterday, is going from a corporate setting to a non-corporate setting and the ways that your days are structured. Like the biggest thing that this internship taught me, especially in a commercial real estate sense, is you've got to have discipline. If you're gonna be given freedom in this industry, you've got to have discipline to sit your butt down and get to work. And no matter if you're raking in things right now or you're not. And that was one thing I quickly had to pick up on, was like, oh, well, I can work from home today, or I can work out the office today. And I would catch myself kind of twiddling on my phone for a little bit, or
Yep.
walking away from my computer. Oh, I've been away from my computer for like an hour. And I'm like, I've I've got to dial it in. I've got to dial it in. And it took me a couple weeks to realize that, and really just discipline myself to, okay, if that means I go into the office for 4 hours and then leave and go home and do stuff, I got to do that. And I'm kind of the type of person, I can't be sitting in the same spot for X amount of hours a day. I mean, I've got to be up and moving. I've got to be doing my thing. And so after I kind of quickly got my schedule in that and figured out what was best for me and what wasn't best for me, that's when I got the majority of my stuff done. And there were days I was done by like 2, and there were days I was done by like 6.
Yeah.
There were weekends that I did some work. There were weekends I didn't do some work. And so it's gonna fluctuate. It's gonna be different every week. But from these 2 months I was here, and gonna be working through the fall and spring, it's all about finding the path and finding the disciplinary actions you can take to be successful in this. And because it is an industry where like I said, you're given a lot of freedom, and you're given a lot of freedom to work or not work. And obviously if you don't work, you ain't making the money. And obviously that's not the end all be all goal of a job, but in order to live and to thrive and survive, you've got to make money. And this is one of those where it's majority commission, and you're hustling to make your paycheck. And
Yep.
so that's something that I love, and it's something that like I've given much thought towards, if I want that or if I don't want that early on in a career. And but at the end of the day, commitment and discipline to something is something that I think everybody needs, and everybody, no matter what circumstance you're in, and especially in a situation like this, you've got to figure that out pretty quick.
Yeah, at any level of commercial real estate, it all comes down to discipline, because it's really sink or swim. Like my high school coach used to say, I'm going to give you enough rope to run around and enough to hang yourself with. So,
Yep.
let's see what you do with it. And there's definitely certain personality types that flock towards that, because, the beauty of commercial real estate is you can make as much money as you want, right? I mean, you could make $1 million next year if you really wanted to. Now, I mean, it's going to take you a while to build up to making that much money, right? I mean, no matter what level of the industry you're in, but you have that ability. There's no cap on commercial real estate, but you could also make $0.
Correct.
It depends on how much work you're willing to put into it. But it's at every level of commercial real estate, it's entrepreneurial, right? I mean, really, at the end of the day, whether you own the business or not, you're a 1099 contractor as a commercial real estate broker, which means you are running your own business. And so you kind of get to have that latitude to take vacations whenever you want, work whenever you want. But at the end of the day, it's your paycheck that's going to be the only thing that's really hurting,
Right.
not the company, really. Payne, what advice would you have for other people that are looking to get into commercial real estate internships?
My mind wants to tell you to be open to it. Be open to just working and doing whatever you're given, but also to be a self-starter in that. Because if you're not a self-starter in any type of real estate business, good luck doing it. And go say go. Really and truly, what I would really say is, don't if you're given a task, do it, obviously, but be that person that puts something on, or that works on something and takes the risk to put it in front of somebody else. Say, hey, I've been working on this for a while. Or be like, I worked on this. Let me see if let me get your intake on it. And that was a couple things that I did early on in this one that was advice I was handing out from other people. But to ultimately be a self-starter in that, and take the risk, take the hit of the I'm losing my words right now. Take the risk and be willing to get the constructive feedback you need in that. If it's good, if it's bad, because ultimately you're going to learn either way. And that was quickly how I learned in this type of sense, was bringing stuff to meetings, or inputting myself in the meetings, or bringing stuff to Brock, bringing stuff to Phil early on and saying, hey, will this work? Will this not work? And not just simply doing things that I was told to do. That's great, but that's making you a C average person. I think in order to be an A average person, you go above and beyond what you're told to do, because I think that's how success is made in any type of business. And a C level at best is doing what you're told to do. And any internship, in any job, in any given situation, when you're only doing what you're told to do, you're going to get by the skin of your teeth. And when you're not doing, if you're doing what you're told to do and doing stuff on the side to further yourself in that, I think that's where you're going to find the most growth and the most learning opportunity in that, to ultimately steer yourself where you're supposed to be at.
Yeah, I completely agree. I mean, most commercial real estate, professionals, whether it's brokerage, management, development, investment, doesn't matter. They're running at 1,000,000 miles an hour. And the biggest issue that a lot of people have with bringing on people that are new to the industry, obviously somebody that's seeking an internship is probably new to the industry, is, you're basically going to be a weight, because now I'm going to have to teach you how to do all this stuff before you can go do it. I don't have time to slow down. But if you're a self-starter, it doesn't matter. And that was one of the biggest reasons why we brought Payne on this summer, because we knew, okay, he can integrate fairly quickly, and he can just ride along and see how the business is done, and, pick it up from there and make it easy on us. And that's the key, is like, how can you make it easier on the people that you're working for instead of a burden as a new employee? What books can you read? How can you familiarize yourself with the terminology of commercial real estate? How can you familiarize yourself with the processes of how things are done before you even go and do that? I get asked a lot, I'm trying to get into commercial real estate brokerage. Should I go ahead and take my CCIM, or should I do this or that and the other? I think the answer is yes, you should do it all. Go get your real estate license before you know where you're going to hang it. Go take those commercial real estate classes, go read all the books, do the internships, do everything you can. If this is really what you want, it will pay for itself, right? I mean, it takes 3 to 5 years to ramp up in commercial real estate. That's been true for just about everybody that I've ever spoken to in this industry. And so, sacrificing 1 to 2 years for, 10, 20, 30 plus years of a career that will pay dividends is definitely worth it. Well, Payne, if anybody wants to follow your golf swing, where should they reach out?
I don't have any social media, so can't do that.
That made it hard when we were interviewing him, by the way. We were like, you don't have an online presence? I don't know that you're a real person.
Yeah, I can't do that. If you get in contact with me somehow via phone, probably not gonna give that over the air right now. But yeah, I've got plenty of contacts out there that know who I am, or I know who they are. And if you run into them, mention my name, they'll probably tell you something good or something bad. So I don't know.
There we go. Payne, appreciate you coming on, man, and talking through commercial real estate internships with us. I appreciate you guys joining us. Let us know if you have any questions or comments on commercial real estate internships in the comment section below, and we'll see you guys next time. This episode of the Commercial Real Estate Investor Podcast is brought to you by CRE Launch Pro. This online commercial real estate program is designed to take you from beginner to pro commercial real estate investor, with access to all of my courses, our online community, and monthly group coaching calls. Learn how to confidently buy your first commercial property today at www.crelaunchpro.com.